Howdy, nerds. I'm your host, George, here with my co-host, Rashawn. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right, man. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm just ducky. We got a blizzard. We got a blizzard here in Western New York right now. So, anyways, what are you up to this week? What do you got going on? You watching, reading, playing?
Ooh, so started playing Brawlhalla on Nintendo Switch because
How is that?
It's not bad. It's just like the PC, so it's pretty fun. You got Rayman that you can pay for, and it's pretty much like the mini games in Rayman. So it's all around fun, especially the soccer game. I love that.
Do they have the rabbits in there?
No, if they do, you know what? Maybe that's another character you can pay for though. I'll have to look into that.
Right on. I have it downloaded on my Switch. I got to play it still.
It's fun. It's so much fun.
Right on. What else have you been up to?
Oh, reading the Halo Spartan Field Manual this week. I'm a huge Halo nerd, and it came out, I think, 2 weeks ago now. So I picked it up last week, and if you're a Halo nerd, it's essential reading. It tells you all about the Spartan program. It goes back to the Mark IV. Tells you about how Dr. Halsey came up with it, and it's just absolutely essential reading. I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's essential reading for anybody that's a Halo nerd.
Right on. I am
Yeah.
not. I like Xbox, but Halo never really did much for me.
Oh man, like this is my second week. I already want to get off. I don't understand this, man. No, how about yourself? What you been playing?
So I've been playing some Fallout 76 on Xbox with some of the the ANG guild members. I like it. You know, it's getting a lot of bad press. You got to take the game for what it is, and I personally I like it. I enjoy it. I've been playing some Black Ops 4. Did quite a bit of Blackout over the weekend with Chris from ANG. Playing Star Trek Bridge Crew on the PSVR, and that game is sweet. Hopefully, I'll have it completed this week or this weekend, so I can write my review and put it up on the website.
Wait, like the whole game done already?
Yeah, the VR games tend to be shorter because it takes a lot more into developing the graphics, because everything's layered and things like that. So, I mean, I've probably played like 12 hours. So,
it's not bad.
Yeah, and when I'm done with it, I'm probably going to buy the next generation expansion. Yeah,
I am a next generation nerd. I did not know there was a next generation expansion. So now
there is. I'm not
peaked.
sure when it came out, but yeah, there is one. I wish they'd make one for Deep Space Nine with the Defiant, because that's my favorite show.
Oh, okay.
I have a cat named Cisco. That's how much I like DS9. So, and playing Moss on the PSVR as well.
Well, how's that?
That's it's like Mouse Guard. I think I talked about it last week briefly.
Yeah.
It's a really cool game. It's a platformer that shows really what you can do with a PSVR or a VR platformer. I'm still watching Eureka. Still watching Voyager. I always have one Star Trek series going on at a time. And I think even myself included gave Voyager a bad rap for a while, but I really like it, and I think the Doctor is the best Doctor in all the Star Wars series.
You said Star Wars.
What's that? Or
You
Star
said
Trek?
Star Wars.
Wow, yeah, it's been a long week. And all the Doctor's the best in all the Star Trek series. And I started watching the 3rd season of The Last Kingdom on Netflix, which is about. Have you seen it?
You know what? I've seen the trailers for that show, and I've always wanted to watch it. It's kind of like Vikings to me. I've always wanted to watch it, still haven't touched it.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I'm glad that Netflix picked it up because it was on BBC for the 1st season. I think the production costs were too high. Netflix scooped it up. So yeah, I like that. And yeah, that's about it.
Well, speaking of things watching, I did watch Wreck-It Ralph 2.
How is it?
Oh, I loved it. If you like the first one, and obviously we all were video game nerds, it's so much fun, and they actually have a lot of fun with the whole, the Marvel entity itself and Lucas. It's so much fun for anybody. You don't even have to like Disney in order to like that movie.
Yeah, did I see there's stormtroopers in it?
Oh yeah, they play. I mean, they don't have a huge role, but they help push the story along, and it's just so cool to see them in there.
That's cool. John says Next Generation is better. I like the Next Generation. I just have them on a rotation. I think next up will be probably Enterprise again. Maybe the original series. Anyways, I do want to see Wreck-It Ralph 2. And I like the first one, yeah. All right, so let's get to this week's main topic. EA. Last week we talked about Microsoft and what they're doing. This week we're going to talk about EA and what they've had going on the last couple of years and what the future looks like for them. Have you been following any of the stuff that's been going on with EA the last year and a half or so, 2 years?
I mean, just recently, but I haven't been that long into the whole thing. The year and a half, no. I've only recently started hearing about it. So,
it started with Battlefront 1 when they got the license from Disney. It used to be Lucasfilm. That I played it. I liked it. It wasn't as well received as everyone was hoping because it didn't have a campaign, and a lot of people didn't care for that. It was just multiplayer. And then after that, it was Mass Effect Andromeda, and that did not do well. A lot of fans of the franchise, were really disappointed because there's a lot of bugs. When you were speaking to characters, their like lips would move off their face, or there was syncing issues, and a lot of the fans of the franchise really soured on it quick. Now, BioWare, the developer, pulled their A team off of it, and they put one of their other teams on it. And so a lot of people have attributed that to its shortcomings. But the negative feedback on their games continued from there. They had Battlefront 2 come out, and they announced there's going to be loot boxes. And I read it was you'd have to play something like 8 hours a day every day for 2 years to unlock everything that you could get from the loot boxes. So a lot of fans got really upset with that, and they ended up abandoning that model and going to one where you could unlock things more easily. And these, from what I understand, they weren't just cosmetic items. A lot of them were playing as different heroes and in-game items. So they had an impact on how you could play. So, they've had a string of things that have just not been going their way. Both Battlefront and Mass Effect Andromeda, I think, were on the EA Access within a month or two of release, which normally they wait till a game's like waning in its lifespan to put that on there like permanently. Are you familiar with EA Access?
Yeah. Okay. It's crazy.
Hi, Davey. How you doing? So they have Battlefield 5 coming out, which is set in World War II, and a lot of people didn't really care for the historical inaccuracies in it. In the trailer, there's the girl with a robotic arm and things like that, and I forget who it was from EA, but one of their public figures, so to speak, basically said, "Well, just deal with it." You don't, and that doesn't usually sit well with gamers or anyone really. If people are going to spend money on a product, they want something good. They want something that they can go along with. So their bad press just continued, and that game got pushed back. It was supposed to come out right around the same time as Black Ops. I think the week between Black Ops 4 and Red Dead Redemption 2. So they, I would say, wisely pushed it back to a week or two ago. But it released a little fanfare, and I've heard some people talk about it here and there, but nothing like you would expect out of a Battlefield, which, the last few Battlefields, Battlefield 1 rocked the house. People were pumped about that. Battlefield 4 is a game people still play.
Yep.
And that's 5-6 years old at this point. So to see Battlefield 5 get released and not even really being talked about is kind of foreboding for what's going on. And, they announced their Battle Royale mode is going to be pushed back until the spring of next year. And I know a lot of people see that as like another sign of something bad, but I actually think it's good that they're doing that. Have you played the Battlefield games?
Oh, yeah. But why would you think that's good?
If you look at the Battlefield games, what sets them apart from other first-person shooters? Tanks, airplanes, jeeps,
well, vehicles,
vehicles with weapons.
Right.
They have to balance all of that, not only for multiplayer, but for a battle royale. Because I'm pretty sure they're going to have tanks and whatnot in their battle royale. They're going to have jeeps with 50 cals on the back. They're going to have scout motorcycles, all sorts of stuff. Because if they don't, why would you want to play that battle royale over another? You know? So my thought is that they really have to balance it for the tanks. And also, here's another thing that Black Ops, I haven't played PUBG, so I can't speak to it. And Fortnite, to a limited extent, has it, is the Battlefield games have almost completely destructible environments. So that's another thing you have to balance. You have to have enough places for people to hide in a battle royale when that circle gets really small and you've got 6 guys, 6 players just running around. If there's no buildings to hide in or hide behind, it's going to be pretty crazy and probably not in a good way. So they have a lot more balancing to take into account than a Call of Duty does or Fortnite or PUBG. So I actually think it's wise on their part that they're waiting to release their Battle Royale mode till the spring. What do you think?
Okay, so in that case, I would agree. However, I would like to see them do the trenches, and I'm just only because I seen the picture, I want a Tyrannosaurus. I don't care how ridiculous it is.
You
I want a Dino
Tyrannosaurus.
Rider. I want a Dino Rider.
Where did you see that picture?
Somebody was sharing it on Facebook, and it was
Oh.
just
A Dino Rider in World War II. Well, maybe you could get a robotic one with robotic arms. Now, there's a couple of things that EA still has been doing well that they do well all the time, and that's their sports games. You know, if you look at international sales numbers year in, year out, FIFA, if it's not number one, is number two right behind Call of Duty every year.
Mhm.
So they've still got that going. Madden always sells well. You know, it's got a very niche fan base in this country. And I don't know how well it does internationally, but around, you know, it's predominant American football. It still does well. NBA Live is doing well for them. They brought that franchise back after years. NHL does well. So, you know, they still have their core sports gaming franchises doing well. So that's good. So not all is lost for them. And they've got Anthem coming up next year. Have you looked into Anthem at all?
Yes, that is actually a game that I really want to play after seeing the gameplay.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that, and I think this could be the game if it's done right, and they don't try and get greedy with the loot boxes and the in-game purchases, and they can really appeal to the players. I think this game is going to bring them back, and it's going to help them do a 180 because it looks awesome. The idea is awesome. You know, I like to say it's like The Division meets Iron Man. Because you got guys flying around in these javelins, these suits, just shooting stuff, and it's crazy. And you know, it's all PVE, so it doesn't have that PvP element where you get toxic players.
Right.
It's just co-op, just destroying stuff, flying around, high speeds, and it looks awesome. So I really think Anthem could help stop the bleeding that they've had from these other core franchises they've had. And it's being made by BioWare, by their A team. And that's, you know, they made the Mass Effect games. I think BioWare was the original publisher, developer of Knights of the Old Republic. So there's some good pedigree there. I think Anthem's gonna do good things for them. I hope it does. I'm excited for it. I've got it pre-ordered already. Can't wait for February. So, what do you think about all this?
Well, EA's been around for so long. I've always enjoyed their sports games. I'm heavier on the WWE games, but
yeah, those are 2K now, aren't they?
Yep. And since they've taken them over, they've been a lot better since wrestling games have been around. I won't talk about WWF Royal Rumble and all that, but every other iteration has just gotten better and better. And I don't even play the Madden games, just to update my characters every once in a while. My players. Oh my gosh.
I think the last one I bought was the one with Drew Brees on the cover. And then before that, it was Dante Culpepper. About once every 5 or 6 years, usually when the Rams are doing well, because that's my team, I decide, I'm like, you know what, I want to get Madden. I just want to play that one for 4 years straight. Because they're more or less, you know what it's a known quantity. You know what you're getting when you buy a Madden game or an NHL game or NBA Live, FIFA. Yep. But people love them and they sell well every year. So especially FIFA. I can't believe. I mean, it makes sense that FIFA sells as well as it does because it is the world's sport. But if you look at the numbers, it's absurd.
Really?
How well that sells. I mean, it boggles my mind.
I'm going to have to look into it then.
You know, one thing EA hasn't been doing that I think they're really missing out on, and they could help them make some money real quick, is releasing some games on the Switch. Because outside of FIFA, they haven't.
Well,
to my knowledge.
They did do 2K18, and it was a hot piece of garbage.
2K is not EA.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. But games like Unravel, that's an EA game. Unravel. I think Plants vs. Zombies is. You know, games like that would be perfect on the Switch. Let me look that up real quick.
Unravel would be really good.
Yeah, I've played that game on the Xbox, and I was like, wow, this is a Switch game. Not that it's like saying the Switch isn't as good as the Xbox, but that's the kind of game I could just see sitting on the couch, just sitting there playing for 4 hours. I really thought that they would put some of these less demanding titles on the Switch, and they haven't. Yes, EA does make Plants vs. Zombies. So that's another game that would be perfect for the Switch. And all you have to do is port it. You don't have to develop it and put new resources into it. You don't have to make new stages. People are going to buy them.
It looks like they got another one called Fee coming. Yeah,
That's
Fee.
already out. I have that on PlayStation. That's another one I was going to say. I saw that. I was like, oh, so this is a Switch exclusive, right? EA's going to put this right on the Switch? And they're like, no, we're not going to put it on the Switch. What? I don't know. I think that's where they could make up some ground from what the bad press they've been getting the last couple of years. Put some of these smaller games on the Switch, because you're a Switch owner. I'm a Switch owner. Tell me if I'm wrong. We buy games to the Switch just because it's on the Switch.
Yep.
Like, yep. Played it before, but I'm gonna play it again because I can play it on my Switch now.
Exactly.
So, I don't know. We'll keep an eye out for Anthem, see or EA, and see what they do with Anthem, what their next Star Wars game is going to be. Supposedly they're working on a big one. They've got the license for I think 5 or 6 more years. So you're figuring 2, maybe 3 titles are going to come out from there. And if they don't turn around from Battlefront 1 and 2, I don't think Disney is going to renew the Star Wars license with them, and they'll go somewhere else. So if they want to keep it, they need to make a hit or 2.
Do a character-driven one.
Do another Rogue Squadron.
Oh, even Rogue Squadron. There you go.
I mean, I don't know where the rights are with that with Lucasfilm and everything, because LucasArts made the 2 Rogue Squadron games before, but to me that's an easy one. And Starlink did well. I said in previous podcasts, Starlink is the Rogue Squadron game I've been waiting for since the GameCube era. So
I haven't opened it yet. So
it's fun. Yeah. All right. Let's go on. Let's move on to our monthly theme. It's our last set of licensed games. You want to take the first one?
You're first and my first.
Go for it. Whichever you want.
Into the Matrix on PS2.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else played these games on PS2, but this game just added so much more. I'm a huge fan of character building and story building. This game added so much more to the story of the Matrix that I felt like I was actually just immersed in the world itself. You find out what happened to the architect, how he got to where he got, everything in between with the Grimalkin. You just find out so much more stuff, and the way they did it, it was kind of like to me it was like a Halo 2 but for the PS2. Mm-hmm. It was a constant, third person, and God, just the story itself. And if you played it all the way through, you actually got the trailer for the third one before the movie even came, before the trailer even hit the net. So like it was a race just to get to that. It was so good. Jada Pinkett lent her voice. They had so many cinematics in there that were.
Did Keanu have his voice in there?
Only in the trailer.
Mm.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't. It was. Gosh, what was her name? Nairobi, and I forgot his name. But her right hand man. And it was just them the entire time.
I saw the first movie one time and it did nothing for me, and that's the extent of my Matrix knowledge.
Oh.
I do know the guy that played Elrond is in it, so there's that.
Well,
Hugo Weaving. Yeah.
Makes everything great. You didn't get to see the Superman then. You gotta watch those movies.
The Superman. Is a Superman in the Matrix?
Oh man.
I mean, it's not a spoiler at this point in time. Those movies are like 15 years old.
So
I'm
you
not
never-
going to see them. Let me put it that way.
No, you have to see. Okay, so you have the Matrix, then you have what was it? The Matrix Reloaded, and then the Matrix Revisited, or which one was it? I can't remember.
Was it Revolution?
Yeah, I think the third one was Revolution. But yeah, you have to. I mean, the game adds so much more to that entire series. It's insane.
Yeah, I'm not going to play the game, and I'm not going to watch the movies. I'm not going to lie to you.
I'll win you over with one of these yet.
But you know what? The thing is, I normally like Keanu Reeves movies. But those ones, I don't know. I was just I was watching it with my roommates when I was, as an AIT, and I'm like, really? Like, you guys like this? This is good to you?
All right, wait a minute. Did you like Hackers?
I don't know. I saw it once.
Okay, well, you're good then.
Anyways, next on our list, we got a game that's tied to a franchise that, again, I watched with my roommates in AIT, the South Park movie, but this is South Park: The Stick of Truth. Have you played The Stick of Truth?
I have not. I've seen so many. I've watched gameplay on it, and I can't do it. After watching the movie, I can't do it.
The game is one of probably the funniest things I've ever seen and or played in my entire life.
Really?
So you play as the new kid in town, and you've got Cartman and his faction trying to get you to join the Koopa clan, and then you've got, I think, Stan and Kyle. They've got their faction, and it's almost based on WoW with like the Horde and the Alliance is what it's themed after. But the stuff that happens in there, like the end of the first night, you get abducted by aliens, and you're in the spaceship. You have the UFO, and you have to escape. And you run across Stan's dad being probed, and you have to like enter the keys to get it to break the lock so you can get out. And the first one is like it's the game Simon, basically. Like, so it's AB, ABX, and you're like, oh, this isn't too bad. And then it just goes nuts. It's like ABXY, and Stan's dad just goes, oh no. Stuff like that. The gameplay itself left a lot to be desired, I thought, in the turn-based combat. And they fixed a lot of that in the sequel, Fractured But Whole. But the story of the Stick of Truth was just so hysterical. I mean, I was crying laughing. I was playing it some of the times because it's really good. It's on the Switch now. I think it's on sale for $15. You don't want to play it with the kids around, but it's definitely worth it. It's worth every penny because it is so funny.
Oh, dang it. Now I got to add another one to the list.
Oh, man, you got to check it out. You cannot go wrong with the Stick of Truth. Has anyone else played that? All right. Well, all right, what's next on our list?
On the list again. Okay, well, here we go. This is all me nerding out about these series that I'm going to jump for it. Terminator.
I've seen everything but Terminator 3 and the TV show.
Okay.
Wait, was it Terminator 3? And then they made one a couple years ago with Arnold, right?
Genesis, yeah.
Okay, I didn't see that one. But I've seen Salvation. I've seen 1 and 2.
Okay.
I like the series. I just never got around to seeing those. And at this point, I'm waiting till they're, on Amazon Prime or Netflix because I don't want to pay $5 to rent one for the night.
Well, since you've seen Salvation, I'll talk about Salvation on the 360.
All right. Salvation's actually probably my favorite of the Terminator movies.
Right? Okay, so I'm right there with you. It ranks up there with 2 for me.
Yeah.
It was Christian Bale did such a good job, and the story, because you're following Blood Moonchild's character in the game.
Okay.
And she basically, you infiltrate. It's adding more to the game. Like I said, I'm a huge story builder, so I love getting more and more of the story that I couldn't get in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially you find out that she's the badass that should have had the movie. Like Christian Bale was good and all, but she turns out to be just this great protagonist.
Yeah, protagonist. Yeah. Well, but
just
Christian Bale was John Connor. You know, they'd already set up John Connor as being the man that saves humanity. So,
John Connor's overrated. We saw that in part 3.
you know,
Well, I saw it in part 3.
One of my favorite parts of that movie is what's his name? The guy that played Chekhov, the guy that died in that horrible accident a couple of years ago.
Yes.
He's right. I think it was him riding the motorcycle out, and he slams the boombox down on the highway, and it's playing "You Can Be Mine." I liked that they had that, and what was the Alice in Chains song playing? It wasn't "Man in the Box," but from the Terminator 2 soundtrack, they had the music in Salvation, and I thought that was awesome.
I didn't pick that up. Now I'm going to watch it again.
Like I said, I remember seeing the trailers for Salvation when I went to see The Watchmen, and I said to my buddies, I'm like, oh, that dead horse just got whacked again. But then I actually saw it, I was like, wow, this is actually really good. So I wonder if the game is backwards compatible. Let me write that down. Because if it is, I might pick it up on Xbox.
It was definitely good.
Now, how was the gameplay in Salvation? Was it third person, first person?
It was. I believe that one was a mix. As I remember the third person, I'm pretty sure there was a T2 style arcade mode. It wasn't as it wasn't as pixelated, but I mean it was great graphics.
Yeah.
But it was definitely the whole side shooter where the screen's just there and you're just shooting.
So like that Terminator arcade game.
Yeah, the T2 arcade game.
Yep, I remember that. That was a lot of fun.
I remember one level like that, but for the most part, it was a bunch of third person, which I'm a huge fan of the third person, as you could tell.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. I like me some third person games. All right, next up on our list, we have Rogue Squadron. Now, there's 2 Rogue Squadrons. There's the one on the N64, and I believe that one came with the enhanced RAM chip that you plugged into the N64. But the one I want to talk about is the one on the GameCube. Did you ever play either of them?
I played the one on the 64, I believe.
Okay.
Well, it could have been GameCube.
They're both very similar. The GameCube one added some stuff that the one on the N64 didn't, because it had a little bit more functionality in the hardware, in that you could enter a time and date. And there was at least one mission in particular on Rogue Squadron on the GameCube that if you played, I think, during the day, you had air speeders. But if you played at night, you came in and did the same mission from a different perspective, different attack pattern using Y-Wings. And to me, that was really cool that they had that functionality, because I remember playing it, and then, I kept playing it repeatedly, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second, I did this mission yesterday and I was in a speeder. Why am I in a Y-Wing now? And so I did some research, and that's why. But those games are a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun flying around, flying in an A-Wing, an X-Wing, just destroying TIE fighters, going after Star Destroyers. I think they had the B-Wing in there. The B-Wing was a beast. And I think they introduced the V-Wing, which it was a good ship, but I didn't like that it was non-canonical. I normally don't care about stuff like that, but for that game I did. So, anyways, I really enjoyed the Rogue Squadron games. Whoever has the license to them, make another one, please, please. Those space flight games are awesome, and let's be honest, Star Wars is the perfect universe for a ship-to-ship space combat dogfighting game. Not that other ones do a bad job of it, but they've already got a well-known universe established, and that's why these Rogue Squadron games, for those that played them, are like they hold a really dear place in our hearts, because they were so much fun. You felt like you were Wedge Antilles flying that X-Wing into the Death Star next to the Millennium Falcon. It was just, I love those games. if you do you still have a GameCube?
I don't. I think I was talking about this last week. I found one for $69, and I was just like, I'm not gonna do it right now.
That's another game they need to re-release. But again, I'm not sure who holds the licenses to them now. I don't know if they went with all the other Lucas owned IPs to Disney, and now EA has access for them. I don't know if LucasArts even exists anymore. I think they do. I don't know if they retain the licenses for them, but I really, really enjoyed those games. Okay, why don't you give us the last game in our top 20 licensed games?
I feel really bad for this.
Why is that?
because I went with another movie series, and I know you haven't seen it. I went Die Hard the trilogy.
So I've seen the one that's in the one with the kid from the Apple commercials.
Apple commercials.
The younger kid and Timothy Oliphant's the villain.
Oh,
Live Free, Die
Hard. Yeah.
I've seen that one. And actually, in high school I borrowed my buddy's what do they call was it the Sega Saturn, and played the Die Hard game on that. So I am familiar with the game.
Oh.
On the Sega Saturn.
So this thing was, at the time, one of my favorite games because it switched it up, and I think it was probably one of my favorite third persons at the time. So it started with obviously part one, where you're in Nakatomi Tower, and it's a third person. You pick up guns, you kill people. It's just all around fun. If you know the story of Die Hard, you know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Not too. Matter of fact, I can't even think of anything that was not part of the movie being in it, except for the lack of other police officers. But then you had the second part of the trilogy at Dulles Airport, and it completely changed everything. It was a first-person shooter, so stationary first-person shooter, and then kind of like the old Virtual Cop series where it would move you as you go along.
On rails. Shooter on rails.
Right. So it completely changed everything after you beat part one. Then you had to get used to that. And then you had part three, where it's Die Hard with a Vengeance. And, you're expecting Samuel L. Jackson. You don't get Samuel L. Jackson that one. You don't get him doing what he does best, screaming MFer. But it's essentially a driving game. It's a third-person driving game. So you see the back of a taxi and another vehicle, and you're just driving all over New York, which looks nothing like New York as we know it now in any other game. But it's so much fun because if you ever watch the movies, you understand what you're doing. And for them to do those three different perspectives for those three different games, is once again, it added more to it for me. I felt like I was part of the game at that point.
No, were they all in one disc? How was it? Or is it one came out and then a couple years later another one?
Well, when I had it, it was all one disc.
Okay.
They were all on the same. The Die Hard trilogy was in was in the whole. What was it? PlayStation 1 at the time.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, it was pretty long ago. I remember. Was it green on the side? So it might have been a greatest hits. So they eventually have come out once at a time, but one at a time. But in this one, it was the Die Hard trilogy. It was just
that's interesting. Like from a game development standpoint, because especially if they all came out together, you would have had to have three different teams working on it, because you have not only three different games in name, but in play style and functionality.
Oh yeah.
Now, did you have to beat one to get to two and beat two to get to three? Or could you start with three?
Well, I think so. If I remember correctly, the title screen, you could pick whichever one you wanted to do.
Okay.
But I'm a chronological guy. I can't go to two if I haven't done one. Same with three. I can't just jump to three, even though I want to drive around a little bit. No, I can't do it.
Right on. Right on. All right. Well, that does it for our list of licensed games. So next up, we got some video game news, upcoming games. Why don't you talk about the upcoming game you're excited about?
Okay, so Overkill has a Walking Dead game. That's already out on PC, and this thing is absolutely beautiful. Had my PC not blown up, I would have already. It again, story building. I love the whole Walking Dead universe. I love that you get other characters. It kind of brings it back to a Resident Evil 2 feeling, where you're walking through and all of a sudden, bam, you crap yourself.
Now, it's first person, right?
Yep.
So it's not like the Telltale Walking Dead games where it's the point and click adventure.
Oh no, this is it's very much like it's very much like the, I guess, Resident Evil in the fact that you do everything you want except you don't see your character. So first person Resident Evil to me.
Okay, so like Resident
So-
Evil 7.
Yes. Like okay, there you go.
Now, it's the same Walking Dead of the TV show and the comics, the graphic novels, and all that. Correct? It's the same universe.
Yep, same
Okay.
universe. Nothing ridiculous yet. I'm sure there will be. But, no aliens or anything. But this game is just, it is way before its time when it comes to action horror.
I've heard good things about it. I just, because it's not on console, haven't really paid much attention to it because I don't play PC games. So
Oh, well, Xbox One and PS4 comes out in February.
I'll have to keep an eye on that. So we had Pokemon Let's Go come out recently, and I got some interesting numbers here from Nintendo from their press release. Where did it go? Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee in the U.S. have combined sales of more than 1.5 million units since November 16th. So 1.5 million units in 12 days. Well, probably 11 days because they probably wrote this yesterday. And that's just the U.S. Nintendo's actually, the last month, they've been killing it. So between Black Friday through Cyber Monday, sales of the Switch went up 115% over the same period last year.
Oh my gosh.
Smash Brothers isn't even out yet, man. That comes out in a week and a half. That comes out the 7th.
I'm going to lose my mind when that comes out.
There's quite a few of us that are going to.
Man.
Lifetime sales of Nintendo Switch was entering only its second holiday season have reached more than 8.2 million units. That does not seem. They've sold more than that. So that might just be for the holiday seasons. They've sold 8.2 million units.
That'd be more, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. First party games, including digital downloads, topped 1 million units November 22 to November 26, beating last year's total by 78%.
Goodness.
So those are your Zeldas, your Mario Kart, your Splatoons. It's just the first party. That's not even talking all the third party games that are on there. Super Mario Party surpassed lifetime U.S. sales of 1 million units, becoming the fastest-selling game in the Mario Party series, and the 5th million-selling first-party Nintendo Switch game in the U.S. alone, along with Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Super Mario Odyssey, and Splatoon 2. Have you played Splatoon 2?
You know what? No, I have not played Splatoon 2.
Wherever it is on your list, and if it's not, you're wrong. Put it number 1.
Is it
That's
really
a game
that good?
that's a game you can play with the kids. It is so much fun. You know what Splatoon's about, right?
Yeah, isn't that the one with the shooting of the?
Yeah, you got your Inklings,
That's right.
and yeah. So it's a multiplayer shooter where the goal is to cover the map in your team's ink more than the other team's ink. But there's also a story mode where you play Agent 47 or something like that, and it's fun. It's fun. It's a good game. Additionally, after 12 months of availability, lifetime combined sales of Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon. So these are not the Pokemon Sun and Moon. These are all the Ultra ones. So they're like mid-generation iterations. 2.2 million.
Gosh.
Thanks in part to strong Thanksgiving Cyber Monday sales, the total installed base for the Nintendo 3DS families just hit 22 million. Oh, here's one. Aided by strong November 22 to 26 sales, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System Classic just passed 2.5 million. That came out over the summer.
It just seems ridiculous.
And the NES Classic, the old 8-bit one, that's just past 2 million. So Nintendo's killing it right now.
You know, it's our generation doing it too.
That's part of it, I think. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you you're wrong, but I think the younger generation that they've heard, especially they listen to a lot of video game podcasts, they've heard about how great games like Secret of Mana and Super Mario World, and these games are they never played them unless it was on an emulator, and now you just buy the $60, $80 console and you've got 20 of them. You know, I don't think it's all us. I bought the SNES Classic, did not buy the NES Classic.
Yeah, I refused.
I have a lot of fond memories of the NES, but for me, the console was really the SNES. It's such a leap going from the 8-bit to the 16-bit in what they could do in the library. Excuse me. For me, it's no contest. So, we've had a lot of backlash from Fallout recently. That game released. I really like it. A lot of other people like it. One thing I did see that's kind of crappy on Bethesda is the people that bought the special edition with the helmet, and they advertised it, and still, from what I was reading on Polygon earlier, even today, it's still advertised as coming with a nice canvas bag to hold it in. Apparently, it's a cheap nylon bag, and people are upset about that because I want to say it was close to $200 that they paid for this. So some of them are unhappy with the game, and then they feel like they were literally sold a false bill of goods with this bag. So the backlash continues for Fallout and Bethesda, but I really like the game, and I think, soon enough people are going to say, you know what, this game is really not that bad, and once they fix some of the bugs, the Bethesda bugs, I think it's going to do well. I think people are going to look upon it favorably, and I'm hoping it can make a resurgence and won't be this eyesore, this black eye on Bethesda. So, another thing I read yesterday, the FTC is going to start investigating loot boxes into gambling, comparing it to gambling. So, a lot of European countries have already cracked down on that and placed restrictions on video game developers with those. So, we'll see where that goes. We'll let you know more as soon as we hear more. We have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate coming out on December 7th, next Friday. What is this, Mac? It's because the upcoming generation heard that the games used to be harder, and that's true. Yeah, people want to talk about how hard Dark Souls is, but they never played Aladdin on the Genesis.
Or Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, or Tiny Toons on the Super Nintendo. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, Super Smash Brothers is coming out on the 7th, and PUBG's coming out or Lion King. PUBG's coming out on the PS4 the same day. If I were PUBG, I would have pushed it back a week, but that's on them. So that's it for our video game news, upcoming games. Oh, there's one other upcoming game I want to talk about that's coming out, I believe, December 4th or the 13th. I'll have to look real quick. It's called Mutant Year Zero. And it's a game I've been following. It's made by an independent developer in England, I think, called the Bearded Ladies. Have you ever played XCOM?
Yes.
It's a turn-based game like that, but with anthropomorphic mutants. There's a duck and a fox and a pig. Yeah, the Bearded Ladies, published by Funcom. It's coming out December 4th. This game looks awesome, and I'm hoping I can get a review code for it. I've requested one. I'm really pumped for this game. If you haven't seen it, it's a game you should check out.
I'm looking at it right now, and it actually looks, and a zombie.
Yeah, it looks awesome. Like, this could be a contender for one of the best games of the genre in the last few years. So keep an eye out for it.
Visually,
I'm really hopeful. I'm really hopeful. Upcoming events, we've got the A&G Xbox One X raffle. That ends the 15th of December at 9 p.m. So I don't know for your chance to win that Fallout Xbox One X bundle. And all proceeds go to the guild. So I know I'm gonna enter. I think it's $10 for a chance to win one. May as well.
That's not bad. Great.
Yeah. And then the Black Ops 4 tournament's gonna be coming up next year, probably sometime in January. So keep an eye out for that. We'll post more on the A&G group page, and I'll let you know more when I hear more. And I got one other thing to talk about that's upcoming. Either later tonight or tomorrow, we're going to post our Game of the Year nominations for Xbox One, PlayStation, PC, Multiplayer Game of the Year, and Surprise Game of the Year. And it's going to be on the ANG website, not the Facebook page, the website. So everyone can go and vote. And after the 7th, probably sometime around the 10th, so we can get a chance to play Smash Brothers, we'll put up the one for the Nintendo Switch, because we want to get a chance to play that, because that may be the Switch's Game of the Year. So you can go and vote on those, and throughout the month, next month, we will reveal the winners of those, and we'll talk about each game. So keep an eye out for those.
I'm excited for that one. I'm excited for the Switch one the most.
Oh, Gifts from Geeks. That starts the 1st of December, and that goes to the 18th of December. So keep an eye out for that as well. Donate, do what you can. Well, that's all I got for tonight. Rashawn, what about you? You got anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, man. Video game wise, no. I'm sure in the coming weeks, though, I'm going to have so much to say, especially after I play Smash Brothers all weekend, next weekend.
Oh man, I gotta work till midnight on the 7th, and I'm gonna have to work some on the 8th. Hopefully not more than an hour or two, but I'm gonna be a zombie all day the 8th, so I'm really not gonna play it till the 9th. Although,
I'll let you know how it is.
If it's slow like I'm predicting, I may actually bring my Switch into work and just play some of it there. So.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. All right.
Oh,
well, everyone have a good night.
Have a good one, y'all.
See you.